Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Confession. Story 1. I traumatized a kid by locking him in a room with me and acting possessed. This happened like 6 months ago. I was 17 and he was probably 9 or 10. I was at my uncle's house, who was hosting a party for his friends. Because I didn't really know anyone, I was talking to that boy because he was alone too and I was bored as hell. As we were talking, I realized that this kid was so obnoxious and privileged. He was boasting to me about having a better phone than me, and having a huge room in his house. He also made a snarky remark about my dress being super ugly and that I would cause boys to run the other way if they saw me. I know he was joking saying that, but sometimes jokes just piss you off when they come from an entitled kid. Soon the conversation went about horror movies and getting possessed. That's when I had the genius idea of saying the conversation would be more fun in a dark room. He excitedly agreed too, so I took him to the room I was sleeping in at my uncle's house. That's when I locked the dark room with us in it and started acting possessed. I turned the flash on my phone on and started making all these horrific sounds to get him scared. It definitely worked because he got really scared and crying. That's when I cut it short because I didn't want his parents hearing him and getting mad at me. But I'm NGL, seeing an entitled kid cry felt so good in the moment. In my defense, I did console him after and hugged him until he stopped crying and felt better and I apologized. But we didn't talk for the rest of the day. I do feel bad now because that kid was only 10 and was immature. I certainly wasn't the best 10-year-old either. Sometimes, I wonder if he still remembers me as the possessed girl who scared him. Edit. Guys, I hugged him and comforted him until he stopped crying. I promise I wasn't totally horrible. And PLS, stop labeling me a creep. It's normal in our households for all the kids to be put in one place while the adults have their own space. It just so happened that we were the only kids in the party. Stop putting your own insecurities in this situation and thinking that I'm a creep for talking to a 10-year-old. Story 2. I probably killed my neighbor's cat and I don't know why I did it. This happened years ago. I was 15 at the time. One day my neighbor's cat ran into my house, loudly meowing and kicking/toppling stuff around, broke a mirror too, and I couldn't really explain why, but I was very scared, so once he started on my window I decided to get a broomstick to try knocking him unconscious by hitting him in the head multiple times. That didn't work and he jumped on top of my wardrobe, which was too high for me to reach. At that point I called my dad to help me get him, which he gently did and then put out back in the backyard. He seemed fine nonetheless and wasn't bleeding or anything. A few months later my neighbor tells me he went missing. He never found out about what I did, and since then I kept thinking about how that was all my fault since I probably caused him some brain damage by hitting him, which caused him to run away out of instinct. I've had 2 cats so far and never hurt them like this before, but I still feel so much regret and anger towards my younger self for the cruelly stupid thing I've done. I can't explain why I decided harming him this way with no second thought when he was just scared. Story 3. Purposely skipping school but cannot resist the urge to do so. I, 18M, am currently a senior in high school. Ever since late December, I have been starting to skip school because I cannot wake up on time due to tiredness. Even if my alarm rang, I would turn it off and return to doze off. My routine consists of sleeping in until early afternoon and eating breakfast, while my parents have awoken and just starting to head to work. I would then head to school late, and attend half of the classes on my schedule upon dismissal. I misguide my parents into thinking that school started late, and more often than not, I would remain home and lie about having remote learning to avoid going to school. In reality, I would just pass time by playing on my phone and not complete assignments. When I finally decide to show up for class, teachers would question about my absence. I would then lie about having family issues. On days when I decide to go to school, I would go home and sleep because I was sleep deprived, which made me to not finish assignments for the next day. The worst part is that I understand what I am doing is wrong, while feeling guilty about doing this to myself. However, I just cannot seem to straighten the situation out and repeat the same mistakes again. Because of this, it has resulted me in failing 3 mandatory classes, although it wouldn't appear on my transcript because it is quarterly grades in the US system. I just have to not fail these classes again the next term, and the next until school ends, otherwise I would need to attend summer school. Since I am attending college next year, I do not want my college acceptance to get rescinded. I have never delved to such extremes in my earlier years of high school, and have managed to get a 3.7 GPA. I don't know what is wrong with me. Story 4. I used to steal from my best friend when I was younger. When I was younger, about 3 to 7, I stole from my best friend. I didn't steal anything too serious. It was only like Barbies, clothes, and random stuff like that. She still doesn't know about it. We're not really friends anymore, and of course I don't do anything like that anymore. But still feel guilty about it. Story 5. Free tea and coffee at work, yet others all pay. So I got a new job about 6 months ago, and when I joined I was asked if I wanted to pay for a month out of my wage towards the tea and coffee club, which meant unlimited drinks for the month. I declined as I wasn't that bothered about it. After 1 month or so of being there, I got offered a coffee by my boss, so I accepted. Then as time has gone on, people in my team keep making me brews, and I return the favor, but nothing has come out of my wage and I know they all pay towards it monthly. Not a massive deal, but it's a little win for me each day. I do feel a little guilty and I wonder if I will ever get caught. Story 6. Stole my teacher's phone in school with cameras and was good. So my high school was set up weird because we had a separate building for freshmen. One week we were doing state testing, so all of the sophomores, my class, were in certain rooms in the freshman building, classes by last names. When we first went into the building, I went to a bunch of my old teachers' room genuinely just to see them. I walk into my old history teacher's class and the whole classroom was dark, but the door was open. Right on her desk was a brand new iPhone 5C, light blue. The klepto in my immediately looked around and just pocketed it. I went to my classroom and started the test, but for testing, and they were very strict on no phones, but I had to turn off the phone so they couldn't trace it with Find My iPhone. In doing that, one of the classroom monitors seen it and asked for it. At that time I had an iPod Touch, but it is almost the same color of the iPhone, so in my pocket I just did the old switcheroo and gave her my iPod. Later on I got up to use a tissue and seen she just left my iPod on the table, so I grabbed it. I think a few ppl seen, but fuck it. At the end of the test I asked for my iPod back, and that's when the principal comes down to try to solve everything. We've been there for 45 minutes and mind you, buses to go home are gonna be coming soon, so my principal goes, it was probably KB, which was number 1, a close friend of mine but also the only black kid in the class. Whole time the phone is in my pocket. They took me out the classroom and I'm pretty sure one of the kids said that I took my shit back, but long story short, I sold that phone and never got caught. School was filled with cameras, so I have no fucking idea how I was good. I sold the phone for $60, bought weed and never told anyone. Story 7. We were marking our physics tests and I changed my grade. I'm writing this on a burner account because I'm scared the school will find this somehow. We were given our physics tests to mark with a red pen in the lesson. The teacher didn't know that I also happened to have a blue pen, which was also the color that I used in the test. As we were marking the test, I would change my answer to the right answer. I should have gotten an 81%, but with the changes I made, I get 100%. I feel guilty. This was wrong and we were trusted not to cheat like this. I might have done this to make my parents proud of my grade, but if they knew I cheated they definitely wouldn't be. Story 8. I regularly scam people for money I steal. I take, not that I need to. I would say that I used to be a good person. I was kind and gentle. Long time since I believed in God, but I lived with Christian values. Then, one day, little over a year ago, my 7 months pregnant fiancée died in my arms as I desperately gave her CPR, waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Since then I enjoy taking from the world, because everything has been taken from me. Story 9. I broke your Spider-Man action figure in kindergarten. I didn't tell anyone this. The amount of guilt, shame, and fear overcame my tiny body when it happened and I refused to ever tell a soul. You knew me from the first year in kindergarten. We instantly became best friends. You were just as insane and uncontrollable as me. We had so many things in common. It was as if we were brother and sister. We went to each other's birthday parties and would have that one absolute obsession. Spider-Man. Everything had to be Spider-Man themed for us. Backpacks, lunchboxes, drinking bottles, everything. Until the day you announced on the playground that you had this new Spider-Man action figure. Since we couldn't be in the hallways by ourselves and everybody's backpack was there, you could only invite your two closest friends to sneak into the hallway and show them your brand new Spider-Man figurine. Everybody was amazed. The adrenaline from being somewhere we shouldn't have been, combined with the excitement of seeing you sneak out your toy out of your backpack was way too much for 4 to 5-year-olds. You showed it so proudly. You showed how it could circle its arms and legs almost 360 in every way. We were impressed, but then those malicious thoughts came up when you said we couldn't touch it. You didn't trust us. Your closest friends. You couldn't, and rightfully so. I wouldn't want to take any chance either of someone potentially breaking my beloved toy. So when you and the two others who came with you decided to get in a random classroom to feed your curiosity, I decided to feed mine. Your backpack stood there, shining and whispering to me to open it. And as I did, there he was. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker laying loosely on your Peter Parker lunchbox. The immense power took over me, and with a beastly lust, I carefully took him out of his prison and had to know how you felt when you almost spun his arms and legs around 360. Almost, as I repeat. 'Cause I felt the figurine internally scream from misery. The limbs felt loose all of the sudden, and when I saw the little bits of plastic coming from it, I panicked. I felt my blood draw away from my face and could hear you coming back with your other friends. I put Peter back into your backpack, right on your lunchbox, and made it look like his limbs were still attached to its body. I didn't wanted to make it look like I did it, so I ran to the other door before you and the others could see me. The only thing I remembered was your saddened voice when you discovered that your beloved toy was broken. You never suspected my selfish persona and blamed it on your poor self. The immense feel of guilt, shame, and fear made me become a bad liar and a goody two-shoes. I am so sorry for breaking your Spider-Man figurine, Killian. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.